Masechet Rosh Hashana Daf 23a1. Yesterday we were talking about when we were basically on Bet Amud Bet, just on the bottom, when we said, right? My time, what's reasoning? Amar Bezerah says in Rosh Chodesh Chaser Shechal Yo Ben Shabbat. We said what happens if the Rosh Chodesh? If you remember, we said that they only do it on a Chodesh Chaser, not on Chodesh Maleh. We said why? Because if you do it on Chodesh Chaser, you already know it was Chaser. If it was going to be Maleh, so therefore it was going to be perfect. Because if you didn't do it on the 29th, you automatically know that it's going to be the 30th. Why? Because if not, you're going to have a problem with Shabbat. Because Ate Lemite. Amri, because they're going to say, Hi Chaser hu, maybe by this month was Chaser. And the reason why they didn't do yesterday all this, the flames and everything, was why? Mishum Dulo Efshar, because it's Friday night. Or Dilmar, maybe it's Malehu. So because of the safek that we don't know when it is, so because of that, that's what's going to happen, that we're going to do it only when it's going to be chaser. V'liyavid. So says the Gemara, v'liyavid ben amaleh ben chaser. Why don't we do it both? Also on maleh and also on chaser. V'chimikla Rosh Chodesh berev Shabbat. So if Rosh Chodesh is going to come out and then Shabbat, lo liyavid klal, don't do it at all. V'kemen do lo avdina motzei Shabbat. Since they don't do it on Motzei Shabbat, and we also do it on Maleh, the Avdina on Maleh, made it they did the Chaser. So then we know it's going to be Chaser. Which means like this. What was, again, one more time. Here, yeah? Not anywhere else. Here. What happened? What did we just say? We said that really bad man, maybe it was going to be Chaser. But now it's Friday night. You have a problem. So if it's Chaser, you can't do it on Friday night. So when are you going to do it? Motzei Shabbat. So now one second. Motzei Shabbat, that means maybe it was Maleh. So now I have a doubt. If you're doing it on Motzei Shabbat, what's the doubt? Is it Maleh, right? And that's why you did it on Motzei Shabbat. Or is it Chaser, but you couldn't do it last night because it was Shabbat. So you did it tonight, Motzei Shabbat. So I don't know anymore. So said the Gemara before, because that we only do it on Chaser. Ask the Gemara the opposite. Do it also on Chaser and also on Maleh. What happens? If it was Chaser, don't do it at all on Motzei Shabbat. And if it's Motzei Shabbat and you didn't do it, so means you already know that it was Chaser. But if it was Maleh, do it on Motzei Shabbat. The fact that you didn't do it at all, right? If it was Maleh, you would have done Motzei Shabbat. If it was Chaser, you would have done Friday night. But Friday night is Friday night. You're not going to be Mechalel Shabbat to do the torches. So therefore, automatically you know that it's going to be Chaser. That's what the Gemara says. Do it whether it's Chodesh Maleh or a Chodesh Chaser. And when it's going to come out to Rosh Chodesh on Erev Shabbat, don't do it at all. Why? Since you didn't do it on Motzei Shabbat, so you already know that it wasn't Maleh. Because usually if it was Maleh, you would do it on Maleh. And if you didn't do it at all, I mean, you didn't do it on Friday night. I mean, you already know it's Chaser. The Gemara says the Gemara, you're still going to make a mistake. How are you going to make a mistake? Hai malehu v'hai delo avdi itnasehu de'atnuse. He said this is a chodesh shavar is maleh, and the reason why they didn't do it at all was because maybe there was going to be ones. What's the ones? On Shabbat, some people they like drinking a little bit. Right, the blue label, the wines. Yeah, all these different things.
We want to bring to the nets.
Yeah,
only
for sure.
to the nets.
Only to the nets. Yeah. So he says, so what happens? He says, but what happens? People are going to be honest because all of a sudden they drank. And once they drank, they're not going to start, lighting torches and flames. You understand? Fire and alcohol, they don't go well together. So therefore, that's the reason why they didn't do it. So for people are still going to make a mistake because they're going to say, really bad man, they should have done it on Motzei Shabbat. But the reason why they didn't do it on Motzei Shabbat is because they don't want people to get drunk. You understand? They don't want, that's going to be the problem. So says the Gemara, fine. He says, why don't they do it on Maleh only and don't do it on the Chaser at all? Meaning only do it on the Maleh. We said we only do it on Chaser and don't do it on Maleh. And why? Because of different mistakes. To do the opposite. Only do it on the Maleh, don't do it on the Chaser. So says the Gemara, no, because of the bitul menachat for the people on 2 days of Rosh Hashana. Why? If they're going to come and they're only going to do it when it's a 30-day month, which means they're only going to do it when it's going to be Maleh, what's going to happen? If they're going to start lighting it only the night after Rosh Chodesh, which is the 31st day, so when it comes to Rosh Chodesh Tishri, which is Rosh Hashana, they won't know when Be'emet Rosh Hashana is. Is it on the 30th day or 31st day? Until the next day. So because of that, they're going to have to stop working again 2 days. So because they're going to have to stop working for 2 days, we don't want them to stop working. Remember, this is before Rosh Hashanah was instituted for 2 days of Gamarnu. You understand? But because of that, so he says, so because of that, we didn't want to do that. Because if not, we're going to stop people from working an extra day. We don't want to stop people from working an extra day. Right? Think about it. We're very, very easygoing with people working. Look, they work all the time. You understand? Which means that, so it's not something, we didn't want them to stop working. You understand? Bitul melacha la'am, they didn't want. Fine.
Is there 31?
So we just said, how would they come and they would carry, right, the flames and everything? How would they do all these things? Right? So Amar Rav Yehuda comes and he says, do you know that there's 4 types of cedar trees? Okay, for the people that are going into wood now, they're checking the wood stocks. There's 4 types of cedar trees. Erez, which is cedar wood. Katrom, I don't know how you say all these things in English, so check your English, yeah? Katrom. Et shemen uvrosh. Yeah, these are the ones, okay? I don't know what oren is. No, it's a type of a tree also?
Translate it.
Okay, so it makes it easier for me. Yeah, just Erez, cedar tree, Katrom, et shemen uvrosh. Katrom, Amar Rav, it's Idra, it's Adar. Now we're mentioning the word Adar. Yeah, but not the month, the tree Adar.
It's pretty Adar.
Yeah, so therefore it says, this is brought down in the Gemara Beitzah. It says, if you remember, we said over there that Adar is a type of a tree. Okay, I think they call it actually Eder, not Adar, but it doesn't matter. It has the same letters. Okay, Devera Bishila Amre, Mavliga, it's Mavliga. The Amrile, and some people say Zugulmish, it's Gulmish. Now again, what are these things? It's a type of a tree. I don't know what it is. Okay? Upliga the Rabba Baravuna. They argue on Rabba Baravuna. The Amar Rabba Baravuna, but says Rabba Baravuna, Berav, they said in the Academy of Rav, there's not 4 types of cedar woods, there's 10 types of cedar woods. What are they? Right? Shneimar, Etem Amimbar Eretz Shita Vadas, Hashem Nasim Barava, Berosh Shidharu Tatshur, Yachda. Eretz is Arza. So Erez is Arza, cedar wood. Shisha is Tornita. This is the Etz Oran that you mentioned. Oren, yeah.
Not Shisha, Shita.
What? Yeah, Shita is Tornita, right? Which is the Etz Oren. Okay? Hadas is Asa. Okay? Et Shemen is a Farsema, is a Farsimon, the persimmon. Berosh is Barata. I don't know what this is. It says here, Baksur. Baksur. No, he says here Baksur. Baksur. That's what it says. Barata, Baksur. Right? Yeah. Tidhar is Shaga. This is a Shuach. Tashur is Shodvina. So ask the Gemara, what are you telling me that there's 10? Right? There's 7. Hanishivanim. There were 7, not 10. Count them. So Kiata Ravdim Yamar Osifu Alehem Alonim, Almonim, and Almugim.
It's Tobanish.
Yeah. So Alonim is Butme, Almonim is Balute, and Almugin is Kasita. Each one is a different name. Balut. Okay, so each one.
We know.
Ika de Am, right? There are those that say Aronim, Armonim, Almugin. So Armonim is chestnut. Yeah, Aronim is Aronim and Almugin. I don't know what. Aronim is Are, the Are Dafna. Armonim are Dulave. It's the chestnuts. Almugin is Kasita, Almugin. Okay, fine. Vetsi Adir lo yavrenu, Amarav Zuburni Gedola. This is a type of a big ship. Okay, Hech Yavdi. Right? How do you make it? Mighty Shital Fegabra. Do you know they bring 6,000 people? In 12 months. And some people say 12,000 people in 6 months. And they come and they put it in with chol. Right? Right, until with the sand, until the bottom goes until Karkayam. Venachit bar amorai, and then goes down. Bar amorai is basically a tzolelan. How do you say tzolelan? The guys that go underwater, the scuba diver, yeah? One of these guys. Yeah? Yeah, scuba diver. Yeah. Vekatara tune de kitna bekasita, right? And he starts tying chavile pishtan to the shorish of the marugim. The katalu besfinata, then he ties it to the boat. Then they come and they throw all the sand outside of the boat. The kama de midalia, and how much does the boat go up? Okay, akra umatia, it picks up the almugim from the karka, right, and then it brings them up. So you understand what happened? Basically, what they did is they take a big boat. Think about it. They put sand, until mamash the boat sinks, right,
Parking.
to the exactly parking, right. It goes all the way to the bottom. They come, they tie the boat to the roots of this tree. Then they come and they start taking out all the sand. Now the boat starts coming up. Now a boat is heavy. So if it's just going to come up, the more that it comes up, all of a sudden it's going to uproot the tree. Right? That is an incredible way of doing it. The comment akra umatiyom machlif al chatre mikaspa. Yeah, so the almogim or machlifim midah achat shel almogim with the two midot of kesef. Tzlat parvata havyan. It's three different types of ports. Tarte beramai, two of them were in Aram, and one of them was in Persia. So there were three different ports. You know what ports are, right? Of the boats, yeah? No one talking about the computer, yeah?
I have
So,
a solution for the noise.
One second. The ve'armai masken kavat kasita. So it says, right, in Eretz of Bnei Aram, they came and they brought up the almogim. The beparsa maskan marganiata. From the Namal in Persia, they brought up peninim. They brought up the pearls. Umikaria parvata de mishhin. And then it says here, from this one, which was called the Mala Melucha. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan says called Shita v'Shita. Each one of these, no. Here it's for the Atzea Oren, from the Oren trees. Shenatlu nochrim Yerushalayim. Atida Kosh Baruch Hu lachzirana. Do you know that they came and they started taking away these trees from Israel? They said in the future, when Kosh Baruch Hu is going to come, he's going to give it back to us. Shneimar eten b'midbar eret Shita ve'midbar ele Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is a midbar. Shneimar Sion midbar hayat. Sion became like a midbar. So for HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring back to the midbar, the eres, the ones that were taken away from us. Meaning all these cedar trees and everything that was taken away from Jerusalem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the future will come and he will give it back to us. Rabbi Yochanan says, anybody that learns Torah but he doesn't teach it over to other people, he's considered like an hadas in the desert. Why? Because basically you enjoy the hadas. Hadas is a good smell. But you can enjoy it. Nobody, it's in the desert. Nobody's going to smell it. What are you going to do in the desert? There are those that say, or anybody that's learning Torah and teaching Torah in a place where there's no Talmidei Chachamim other than him, so then he's like an Adas Bamidbar, that he's Chaviv. Why? Because there's nobody else like him to teach it. So therefore, the fact that he's teaching, he's doing a very good job. Because obviously, there's better people to teach, let them teach. But there's nobody else to teach. So therefore, he's going to teach. He's Chaviv. Rabbi Yochanan also says, woe to the Ovdei Kochavim, they have no takana. They have no fix. Why? Shneimar, tachat hanechoshet avi zahav, v'tachat habezel avi kesef. Instead of copper, I'm going to bring gold. Instead of iron, I'm going to bring silver. V'tachat hatzim, instead of the wood, nechoshet, I'm going to bring copper. V'tachat avanim barzel, instead of the stones, I'm going to bring iron. Okay, so that means each one has a tachlif. They have a substitute. Tachat Rabbi Akiva v'chavera. What do you do for Rabbi Akiva and his friends? Right? They came, they killed out Rabbi Akiva and his friends, right? The 10 martyrs. They came, they killed them out. What's the tachlif? What's the substitute? There's no substitute that you could give for that. That's why it says, he says, so too, that means basically, I'm not going to I'm going to revenge, basically, against the blood of theirs, against their blood. Why? Because technically speaking, he didn't need to. The fact that all of a sudden he came, that was already enough. Okay? Fine. Next, 2 dots. Sorry, I'm by the 2 dots. So he says what they did this. Do you know they never moved until they went and they did molich umevim, ma'ale umorid, right? Until they were able to see. That means basically what they used to do was they used to do like the lulav, 1, 2, up, down. So that they used to do in order. That means there was a sign. It wasn't just stam that they lit a torch. They were doing signs. And the sign that they were doing with the torch, the next guy that was on the next mountain, when he saw that I was doing a certain sign with my torch, I knew to do the same thing. And then it continued going, the domino effect, right? They continue going 1, 1, 1, 1. So says the Gemara, what is Bet Baltin? Right? Because we said from Bet Baltin, they didn't move until everything was like, the entire thing was full of torches, like all the mountains. So it says, my Bet Baltin. Amar Rav says, 23b, right? Zu Biram, this is Biram. Biram is at the end of Eretz Israel. It says, which is basically closest to Babylonia. I don't know what it is nowadays, but it just says here Biram. My Gola. What is Gola exactly? What? It was still in Israel. It was in Israel, but it was towards Babylonia. Right? No. Halat is in the south. Right? It could be in the north. In the north or towards the. Yeah. Amar Rav Yosef says Rav Yosef, well, this is Pumpedita. Maikim Durat Haesh. He says every single person, they come and they go to the top of their houses and they start. That means it wasn't only now the mountains anymore. Everybody went on the roofs and they started putting these torches. That's what they used to do. So Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Also, they were doing it in the top of the mountains of Charim, Chayar, Geder, and Chavrotea. There are those that say Benu Bena Avukaim, that it was in between the different places that we were talking about. And some people say no, the Achki said that it's still Avukaim. It was the other side of Israel they were doing it. More Chashiv Dagisa, more Chashiv Dagisa. One of them only brought down one side, and one of them brought down the other side, which means that this obviously was for the people on the other side of Israel, because it's going to be towards the inside of Israel. Why do you need the torches? It's on the outside. So therefore, because they were trying to get the words out to Babel, to Babylonia. Okay? So it says over here, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, it says, Ben kol echad ve'echad shmona parsa'ot. Between each one of the places that were mentioned, there's 8 parsaot. Right? You know what that is? 8 parsaot. It's a lot. Remember, every single parsa is 72 minutes of travel. So 8 parsaot. That's 8 times 72. Right? Every single parsa is 4 mil. Every mil is like a kilometer. Yes, it's like a kilometer. Right? So if we're talking about 8 parsaot, if every parsa is like 4 kilometers, so 4 times 8 is 32. 32 kilometers. You know what that is? In miles, well, I don't know how do you do that. Yeah, it's a lot. Kama havalu, tlatim v'tartim. It's going to be 32. It says 1 second, but now there's much more than parsaot. So Amar Abaye, right? He says that they stopped, and therefore that's why since we go like different ways, it became longer. Right? Which means that he went and he made it longer nowadays because of the paths. Meaning, once upon a time, it used to be much clearer, the paths. Now it became much more of a, like this. Once upon a time, it was straight through. So that's why it became longer. Mishnah. Chatzar Gedola Haita Birushalayim. There was a very big courtyard in Yerushalayim. Ubet Yaakov Haita Nikret. Right? It was Bet Yazek. Sorry, that was called. Ulsham Kol Haedim Mitkansim. So there, in this Chatzar Gedola, which they came outside of the tomb, they used to go inside of it. Ubetin Botkin Otam Sham. So Betin checked them over there. Useudok Dolot Sinayim Bishvil Shiur Regalin Lavo. Remember that by Jews they go where food is. So they used to make a lot of food. So that way they would come, they would continue coming. Right? Because imagine, it's a privilege. You're coming, you have a good breakfast, right? If not, who's going to come? You're going to come and then stay hungry the entire Shabbat. So they used to come. But Yishona lo uses Zin Sham Kolayim. At the beginning, they wouldn't go there, they wouldn't leave the entire day. Why? Because once they went out of the tomb, that's it, they can't travel. Then they said, no, you're allowed to travel 2,000 a month for every single direction. Not only those ones. Also the same a midwife, that she's coming to give birth to a woman, right, in a certain place, right? So he says over there, or somebody that's going to save somebody from a fire, minagayas, or from the tzava, from the army, minanahar, or from the river which is overflowing, or from a polet, or from to the Champlain Towers, right? So all those things are like anshe ayir. They have which means that you see from here that at the beginning the institution was once they got there, Kaddish, they can't move. Why? They have the entire chatzer. It's a big chatzer. They have food. They have everything that they need, but they weren't able to go out. Afterwards, when the instituted, he said, no, you know what? I know that in order for them to come, we have to institute that they're able to go around the 2,000 a month. So they have 2,000 a month. This is during Shabbat. That's what nowadays. Nowadays, for example, you have a midwife. She's able to go to the hospital, give birth, help a woman give birth, and then she could go home. Why could she go home? Once she got there.
What's 2,000 a month? Is there
Well, nowadays I'm saying we're in the Tchum Shabbat, so it's fine. I'm saying, it's 2,000 a month, usually it's going to be your house. It's fine. So we asked the following question. Bet Yazek Tznan or Bet Yazek? Is it Bet Yazek with an Ayin or without the Ayin? Right? So Bet Yazek Tznan with an Ayin. Mishnah Me'aliyah here. It's a good Mishnah. It's a good one, because it says in Pasuk, by Azekeu Veisalekehu. Or Dinmar, maybe you're going to tell me over there. Bet Yazek Tznan Lishna de Tzara is like Tzar. So basically, was the city called a place because of a good thing or a bad thing? Because of Tzar. It says in the Pasuk. Yes. Vehu Asur ba'azikim, that he's going to be Asur with azikim. Azikim, Bet Yazek, azikim are handcuffs. So basically, he's tied up in handcuffs. Amar Abaye says, Tashama, we're going to learn. So it's mashma that they didn't have Tzar when they were there. Right? Why? Because they were happy. They went, they had a party. They had good food. You know what it is. People, they go running to these places. Remember, when there's good food, all Jews go running. Yeah? So says the Gemara, he says, no, maybe Be'emet it was both, which means Mitzad Echad, they used to be ne'ena from the Seudah. But Mitzad Sheni, there was a Tzar because they were all tied up, right, in the same courtyard, and they weren't able to move. So that's why it was called Bet Yazek. So because of that, maybe it was both. We don't know anymore. Meaning, it could be that it was a good thing and a bad thing. It was a good thing, at least they had good food. But even if you have good food, to be tied down in the same place, not always is people like that. Fine, next, Mishnah. How do they check the Yadim? Zug Sheba Rishon Botkin Rishon. So the first group that come, that means basically it goes in order. The first group that comes, you check them out first. Et Agadol Shemen, you always check the older one, right? And they tell him, and it's by himself. And more cases, how did you see the Levana? Before the sun, after the sun. Litzfona, was it to the north of the sun? Or the Drama, to the south of the sun? Kamaya Gavua, how tall was it, right? How high was it in the horizon? Where was it facing? The Kamaya Rachav, what was the width? If he said it was before the sun, Lorma Klum, for sure it's nothing. We don't even take it into consideration. And afterwards, then we take the second guy in. We check him out as well. If they both say the exact same thing, because basically you don't know what they're going to ask you, so they start interrogating you. If they come and they have the same testimony, so and all the other groups, so then they're only just going to come and ask them not because they need them. Imagine right now you come to testify, and at the end we don't need you because the first group were already kosher. So everybody else, they feel. So what did they do? You used to come. Yeah. Where did you see the moon? Okay. Oh, very good. Chazak u'ruch. Thank you very much.
They knew the question, like every 30 days, same question.
Yeah, but not every 30 days. You're the one that's coming every single time to do it. It's only if you saw the new moon. So it's not that you knew the questions.
Big groups of the new moon.
No, 100%. But whoever saw the new moon, they used to come. Okay. So you're right. After a few times, but sometimes they didn't even ask you all the questions. Because remember, if right now you were the first group, so Jonathan was the second group, so he doesn't get all the questions. He gets Rashi Prakim. Let's say next month, Jonathan was the first group and Mordechai was the second group. So now he doesn't know the questions because, you understand, meaning that's not like everybody had the same questions, right? Because everybody else was just Rashi Prakim. Just like, okay, Chazak Baruch. Once they have one, that's it. They didn't need anybody else. Okay? Not because of in order people should come. Says the Gemara, he says, 1 second, if it's in front of the sun, so then that's in the north. And if it's after the sun, so then it's going to be in the south. You have the picture there, right? The picture there in our scroll, you see it? This, if it's going to be before the sun, right? This is after the sun, before the sun. You see? This is Safon and Darom. Okay, this is the western horizon. So he says this is going to be the north and this is going to be the south. So you already know where it is. So he says, Abaye says, Pegimata lifnei chama or lachama. No, the side which is lacking. Pegimata is that which is lacking in the moon. Remember, the moon starts, it's like this, right? Or like this, whichever way you want to look at it. So the one which is lacking, the lacking part, the empty part, was it towards the sun or the opposite way of the sun? Right? If he said lifnei chama was in front of the sun, it doesn't exist. Why? Because basically it's impossible. What does it mean? Which means like this. Here, this will never happen. Why will this never happen? Because then the sun is seeing the lacking part of the moon, and then the moon is embarrassed. So says the Gemara, what does it mean? That person who makes peace in the firmament, he makes peace that the sun never saw that the moon became lacking. Meaning that the sun will always see this part of the moon. Because he can't see exactly the lighting part, because it cannot see. But even if the sun is giving a light, but it cannot see that the other part is lacking. Meaning the sun will never see, and that's what it says here. Rabbi Yochanan says, the sun never saw the pegima of the moon, or the pegima of the keshet of a rainbow. Why? He's going to become upset. That way the people that serve the sun should not say that the shemesh is being yorech chitzim. That means basically the sun is coming and throwing like arrows. That's what is like the rainbow, that it looks like arrows. So therefore he says because of that, it never saw it the same way. So because of that, it was different rules. We're on the two dots on the top of Kagala and Mubet for tomorrow.